Hey y'all, Data Guy here. So today I got a really good video for you on how to use the .map function on the output of a task. So this function is really useful, if you're using the .expand method or if you're just using a task that's going to return a list of things or a list of elements that you want to transform before they're put into or read into a downstream task. This allows you to do any kind of intermediary transformations. Like let's say I want to pull a list of users from my database, but I know all of them are going to have a user dot Anthony Soprano, right? And I want to automatically just trim off the user dot part of each string before they're passed to my downstream task. Or you could do something conditional like we're going to do here, where I want to read all the strings that are returned by that task and mark any of them that are greater than 4 letters as a skip. That's what we'll be doing here. So first thing you're going to want to do is, as always, import some libraries. So you're just going to need to import the decorators for DAG and task. So we can find our DAG and our task, our date time from Pendulum, and then the airflow skip exception. So that's what we'll actually be using here to say, hey, for these strings that are longer, skip them. Then you'll also need the bash operator. You'll notice there's no need to import the .map method. That's automatically included, just base airflow libraries. So after we're done with that, we will create a DAG. Um, and like so. So now basic DAG doesn't really matter here. We won't spend too much time on it. And then our first task, we're just going to create a simple task that's going to return us a list of strings. So now I can, because this is task API, I can dynamically read in the output of that task and use it as an input for another task. But like I said, I want to transform or manipulate this in such a way that I want to skip any tasks that are marked with this skip parameter. So what I'll do here is define a function that will allow me to do that. And so what's important to note here is that when you're defining a function for the .map method to use, it's not an actual task. So you'll see that this isn't being defined as a task, but it is being used as part of this list string tasks where it is mapping over those parameters to create a transformed list that will then use in a downstream task. So you can see here, saying, hey, if length is less than 4, then good. We want to use that and we want to print it out. And then if it's longer than 4 or equal to, we're going to skip that string as was told. And any other situation, just return a string with a exclamation point. And so that is our function that we're using to parse this data, perform some operation, choose which ones we're going to skip or not, and then we're going to pass this information into a downstream task. But we're not going to pass it directly in. So because we're using this .map method, we'll actually need to create a object that will store the transformed result of that upstream output. So here you can see I'm calling that list strings task and then adding that .map method to skip any string starting with skip, as we saw here. And so then what we'll do is take this output that has been transformed, has had the .map method applied to it, and we will then create a task that's going to ingest this. So here we have a very simple task. We're saying max 2 tasks per DAG just to kind of trim the amount of task instances we create. And it's just reading a string and then returning say plus that string. So, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, just show how the .map method works functionally. So then after we've done that, we create or we can define our task as a map task. So here we have map task equals map printing function dot expand, and the string we're setting equal to the transformed list. So the list that's had this .map method applied to it before it was passed into a downstream output. And the advantage of doing this over like baking it into your actual task is it can handle it more dynamically. You don't have to perform that operation every single time, and it can scale up and down based on the amount of outputs from that upstream task. Um, and then what we will want to create a task that will then just take our list and actually return it, print it within our logs. So here we have a bash operator that's just going to take the XCOM from this map printing function and print it out, essentially. And so query rule all done, make sure they all pass before it starts triggering downstream tasks. And then all we will have down here just map task, downstream hello. So very simple bit mapping here as well. So now let's go over to the Airflow UI and just look at this in practice. Now here in the Airflow UI, we can go to our skip map DAG and plus run. And so while it's running, I'll just go and look at the previous task where you can see it is in fact skipping those strings that were marked as skip. And then if we go downstream to this, we can see our output from each of the downstream hello tasks, say hi. And that will just tell us to say hi. And so basically, and so the reason this last task isn't dynamically mapped as well is because we actually just chose to read in the task or the output of just this specific task dot zero. So that's why you're not seeing every single output there. But if you wanted to, you could just expand that. It would show you 3 different bash operator outputs. That's really all I had for you today. Just wanted to make a quick video on this subject to really show you how you can make the best use of it. So have a good one. Data Guy out.